9 o'clock, so I'll call the meeting to order. I better put that on silent. There we go. Introductions. Make it easier. Everybody knows John McRae, our FSA
Morning.
counterpart on the other end of the building. You know everybody here, John?
Familiar faces, yes.
Okay. Any public comments? Any public comments? Any public comments? Hearing none. Agenda.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion been made and approved the agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Consent agenda.
Move approval. Second.
It's not a correction, it's just a notice. Under the Treasury's report, the
Supervisor
payroll is,
payroll.
supervisor payroll is out of there, but we just don't have the checks today. So, but it's all accounted for.
Did the machine break down or what?
Time. Lack of time. So, we'll be getting them probably next week or so. So, is there a motion to approve that?
Second.
Motion been made and approved the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. River watershed. There's an attached.
That's the gray.
Dark gray sheet.
So the treasurer's report is the same as last month, just the $27 of interest, so if you just want to approve that.
Is there a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
Second.
Motion been made second to approve the treasurer's report. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Payables, none.
So there's no payables this month. There will be in November.
Okay.
And then if we move on to number 3, the sub-agreements, we have 3 amendments that we have to do to the sub-agreements for the 2018-2019 grant. And if you look at the attachment on the back, we're doing amendments with Filmer, Olmsted, and ourselves because it involves egg practices that aren't quite done yet, but the original sub-agreements end October 31st and the grant ends December 31st, so we can extend it to then. And everybody has accounted for it, they're just not done.
For once it actually works in our favor, to be able to extend it.
Right.
It's not
Yeah.
flip-flop.
So Mauer has used their 16,000 and I do have invoices for that, so that is okay. So what's left on this grant is at the top, it's $40,447 left. But I've been working with everybody, it's all accounted for, it's just a matter of getting it on the ground and getting the projects done.
Okay.
Oh, and I also need to note with you guys, if you look on the back side, our egg practices involve cover crops. And we already know of one contract that was terminated. It was with Byington's because they left. So that 900 will be going into, we'll flip it over to egg practices and use it on the Coons project when that gets done. So I think it's all going to work out in the end. Just a lot of coordinating to get it to make happen. So if you just want to approve the 3 amendments for those sub-agreements.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, a motion is made second to extend those 3 agreements. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
And the only update I really have for River is there is an advisory committee meeting this coming Monday. Another new stuff for me that I'll be taking part in, so.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Was that part G, or is that something else?
That was F.
That was that.
Okay.
We're all done with, ownership on plan.
G then, grants,
Yep. So
agreements,
that's
contracts, cost share.
the big spreadsheet. So we'll start with, we're going to have to do an amendment for Leo. He is decommissioning a well that was supposed to be done by October 31st, and it's not done yet, correct, Leo?
No.
So we're gonna extend it to June 30th, 2022 for him.
I don't know. Kind of a loose cannon. I know the guy.
Twist his arm a little bit to get it done, would you, Josh? And then, we have a payment for Gary Dunn. We finished his waterway. What did you say the final footage was, 1,000?
It's 1677.
Oh, it was that, okay.
Yeah.
So the original estimate was $12,300 and it came in at $8,860. So we saved a little bit of money there. As noted, it ran underneath we had originally said that we were gonna use 7,500 of local capacity and 17,000 of the county. Well, we don't even have to use the county because it fell under the 7,500. But I'm gonna use up those two smaller grants and get those funds used up along with local capacity for the total of our cost share of $6,645.
What was the Ann Schweeder one up above it there in between?
Oh, it goes, Ann Schweeder is just a little bit down below. The main is
Oh, there it is, okay.
we
Yep.
just had to use a little bit to get her to the,
That's that pit that she has
Yeah.
there, that
And-
big pit.
It's gonna be starting in about a week and a half, 2 weeks.
I've hauled a lot of manure out of that pit.
Yeah.
Yeah, got stuck in there a few times.
so those are the only two actions, and Leo, you'll have to abstain from the motion, but those are the only two actions, and then we'll do a little update on everything else once you do that.
So are they gonna take that, because that's actually a pump system out of the barn, and there's a big flue pipe that goes into that. Are they taking it all the way back to the barn, or what are they doing?
NRCS has the design on that one, and since I don't have expertise in it, we're just piggybacking, and I'm gonna take along and learn. From what I've seen of the design, all they're doing is scraping everything out. They're going to punch holes in the concrete and see if there's anything that's been leaking underneath the concrete. If there is, they have to pull out the concrete and scrape out all the spoiled soil and then fill it all back in with clean fill. I guess I haven't seen anything that says they're gonna take out that whole pipe system back to the barn.
Yeah, that's a pretty good size pipe, because it's one of the old piston pumps.
Piston.
Yep,
Yeah,
that pushes it through, yeah.
so, yeah,
I put the milk system in there, or the pipeline system in that barn, so
Okay.
when Keepers took it over.
Are they doing it to, because there's a contamination in the water, or what, why are they doing it?
No, so anytime that you have a feedlot that's unused and you have a pit that still is collecting water and potentially manure, the feedlot officer in the state will pressure you to close that facility so that it no longer harbors, all the rainwater and any runoff that might be directed to it, because it's just it could be an issue, a safety issue, a health issue, things like that. They just want that closed if your feedlot's shut down. So, and it's numerous years old. It's many decades old already.
I say Utica Public Swimming Pool.
Oh,
Is that
we
still
had
in
something similar
operation?
to
Is it
that.
gonna
We
be
did-
replaced?
No.
Is that an issue that we're gonna
On that
have? with
Ruha farm,
all
there's one, there's something
years
like that,
going out of
but
business?
that goes
That's
to
a
a silo.
little bit of a unique
Okay.
situation,
Yeah,
because
it's
it's not a real big pit.
Yeah, I know
It's
that
kind-
Ann's been pressured by the feedlot officer and the MPCA.
And I think it's maybe because it's close to the road and everybody sees it.
Could be, yeah, could be a visual thing.
That was, that Schweeder's is a small pit. Gary put that in years ago before he passed away. And it's kind of a unique situation. You could almost never really pay to do that. You know what I mean? The cost to put that in now on something that small and everything, you would never do it. So there are a handful of them on the countryside, but they're pretty far and few between.
But it's
They just-
costing more to,
Yeah, that's gotta be. a unique situation.
$41,000, it costs more to tear it apart than to build it, maybe.
Well, yeah, because he put that in the 90s, so,
The only other one I know of is Tessing's had that
yeah.
piston type
Piston pump, yeah.
pump.
Now, was that a Van, were those Van Dales, or what were they? Who put those?
I know, we had one,
It's either piston,
that went
maybe
to
it
a
was
silo
air
on
pressure,
the
I
Rural
can't
Farm.
remember.
Yeah.
I know Schweeters is piston pump because we're ice milk cows there, so.
I know a few of them that were in dairy barns that would pump it out to a lagoon or a pit or something.
Most of them now just have a ramp system and dump in, you know, they don't do that whole piping and pump and.
Yeah.
I'm wondering too, being so close to Utica, if she's maybe within the drinking water supply management area for their well?
She's in city limits, yeah.
Yeah, so it could, well, the city limits don't, outline
The farm, but
That,
it
exactly.
outlines their building.
Yeah.
Because the Midwestern Byway building, I actually own that, and that's in the city limits.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, the city limits aren't the drinking water supply management area. That's got a different outline based on,
Where the well is, or what?
yeah,
Oh.
based on where the well is and how quickly water gets to it underground. But if she's within that, that would be a lot of pressure on her too to
Yeah.
get that close.
But there's no cattle there anymore.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yep.
Nobody was using that for storage.
No, I don't think anybody's used that
I
for
think it's all
10
grown up
years.
in the weeds.
Yeah, 15 years, yeah, it's been a long time.
Yep.
So if you want to approve those two actions before we discuss the rest of what's happening on the ground?
Yeah, so
Okay.
moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and second to approve them
Hesitation on the Leo.
presented. Yeah, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
So if you want to look at the green, that's our cover crops for this year. Amanda was able to get 3 new contracts. And then we did do an amendment to Seth Kaler's to go from 18 to 30 acres for his last year. Since we had the money, we both thought that was a good thing to do, just to get the cover crops on the ground. And she's been working with, what's that other total, 20?
There's 22 existing cover crop contracts I've been working with, and all but about 8 of them have responded back to me with their filling out their maps and their plan for planting. So 4 of them are completed that I know of. Others may be completed by now since I contacted them the first week of October. So.
I just got a question here with Dwayne and Aaron Tim. Do they farm together?
No, they're separate farms.
Separate farms, just live next to each other?
Well, Aaron
Aaron actually lives by Madison.
Aaron works for Keene, and Dwayne has the dairy farm, because I do their agronomy.
Yeah.
And Aaron has his own separate farm, counts his own land. But everything he has is rented.
Right.
And everything Dwayne has is owned.
Okay.
So they're 2 separate.
I just see they're next to each other in the section.
Father, son, yeah,
Oh,
but they
okay.
farm separate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My question was that if you had a father and son team
Oh,
that farmed together, there'd only be one contract for them. They
Yeah,
couldn't
yeah,
get
their
2 for
records are
that.
completely separated in FSA.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Two separate
like with us,
operations.
they're 2 separate accounts.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
So Aaron's goes on the rented crop land?
I'm
Yeah.
assuming.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's got a lot of little 3 and 4 acre chunks too. He farms
Oh,
up
does
on the
he?
hillside, yeah. So, he's got some. He actually farms a lot on his uncle's, is it Mark? Down the gravel road.
He's got an uncle named Marlon.
Marlin, there you
Yeah.
go, down that gravel road. He farms a lot of that land where the vegetable place is there up just down the road from him. So, yeah. That's the ground he farms, then he's got some money stuff.
I just don't see any cover crops going on in any of those areas.
Yeah. Dwayne's been doing some for the last
Yeah,
couple of
Dwayne.
years, trying to get in to this
Yeah.
program. But yeah, there's not a ton up there. I see a lot of crops are coming up right now. Actually, the corn up there was the greenest I had seen when I was up there visiting his feedlot site, so.
Yeah.
So do we gotta approve them being at the
nope, I had
authorized?
you already authorized me to approve those. We were just gonna give you an update on those. And then
Okay.
as far as the other projects go, the Kunst project was wrapped up. Well, it's not wrapped up. They still have to do the seeding after November 1st. But the construction part of it is done, so we're working with all parties involved to get that checked
Wrapped
off.
up.
Yeah, wrapped off. And you're going out to McNabb today?
Yeah, so the McNabb structure, sediment control pond started early this week, and then I'll be going out today. They're either gonna be laying pipe today if it's dry enough, which I think it is, or tomorrow, so.
We'll go back to Schweeters. I got a question with that. So when they take that pit out, I'm sure there's a little residual manure in the bottom, you know, stuck in there or whatever. What do they do with the dirt? Do they just go spread it out? I mean, it's, the city
Yeah.
limits go all the way out to
Yeah.
where BioEgg is. I mean, do they just put it on the same field, or what do they
can
do with
spread it
it?
as manure.
Spread it as manure?
Yeah,
Right, They just
so
don't
they
want
can just
it
spread it across the ground, just
confined.
put it in a big old.
So what would determine the difference between just leaving it there as dirt versus, you know, is it a soil test? Is it you know, the amount of phos or whatever that might be in it, that's so concentrated, they're saying dilution, solution, pollution type deal, or what are they?
Yeah, that's a little beyond my.
You know, what
knowledge of the
determines that
feedlot
says,
rules.
well, why can't it just stay there as dirt versus it's gotta go out to this dirt? You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah, well, right now it's still very heavily it's nutrient heavy, you know,
Yeah.
what's in there right now. So they have to get it out and spread it, and if they spread it across the field.
Well, I
it
meant
says-
underneath, if they,
Oh.
you know what I mean? It must be,
Yeah.
there must be a value associated that says this is higher than what we want, we need to dilute it out.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah,
what
so they're
they
gonna
do?
have to punch holes in the concrete, and if they found that there was a leak, they're gonna have to mediate. And that'll all come down to once they get to that point.
So is that part of the 41,000 is to pull the concrete out?
Yeah, so I believe we used a higher estimate, because they had two estimates. One with where they had to pull all the concrete, and one with just punching holes. So we used a higher estimate just so we could be on the safe side, and if we come in under cost, that's a good thing.
That's what I was wondering, because 41,000 just to fill a pit, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
it seemed really high, but that, I'm
Right.
assuming it must be to pull the concrete out.
Yeah,
So-
and the state has certain stipulations as to what they consider spoiled soil.
That's what I
under the
mean,
pit.
yeah, what, you know,
Yeah.
how do they see that, you
Yeah,
know?
and it could depend on how much is leaked, you know, if it's just a tiny little bit, they're probably not gonna be concerned, but if it's saturated and really organic, it's not gonna be stable, so they're gonna have to figure something out.
Okay, third.
Do you need to update on Tim?
Oh, yep, Dwayne Tim, Marlin Tim is his earthwork contractor, is gonna be getting started today, so I'll be out there this afternoon as well. And then, Tony Schwartz is gonna be doing the concrete, hoping to start that next week with concrete, so, we're hoping to get everything to grade by Monday, Tuesday next week, and then, he'll be able to start getting his concrete forms ready. So Dwayne Tim is moving pretty quick now, so. So, yeah.
Good.
That's the one over on his home farm there,
Yep,
where he lives. Yeah.
yep, the heifer and beef lot,
Yep.
yep.
And then I think the only other update we have is, we worked with Gerald Rinn, and we're just gonna wait and do his contract in 2022.
Mhm.
So that took care of itself.
Good.
He's applied for EQIP, so we're waiting to see if he gets, well, other sources. He's applied for other sources, we're waiting to see if he gets funded yet, so we know what's the contract.
Can I ask a question on the two that are 27,500, it says vegetative treatment? That can't be 27,500 just for putting vegetation on it.
So vegetative treatment is the treatment of the runoff water, but it includes stacking slabs. So manure storage, stacking slabs.
Turn there
And
in the
the
same
water
group.
runs off of them, so it's concrete work,
Okay.
yeah.
I expected it was something, had to be more than
Yeah.
putting vegetation in.
Yeah, the vegetative treatment area is just the end product, but you need the concrete work to be able to scrape along and get all the manure to the stacking slab, and then all that water from the lot runs along the concrete wall and goes into the vegetative treatment area. So, yeah.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll move on. New business. Okay, on September 27th, Lance Glessing called me and said he was resigning. I do have the letter here that he sent the following day. It's addressed to Ms. Randy Cronenbush, Mrs. Wanda Anderson, and Winona County Soil and Water District. After considering and praying through my family's future, I would like to inform you of my resignation as resource specialist. My last official day with the district would be Thursday, October 14th, 2021. Thank you, Andy, for taking time this morning to discuss my resignation as well. I am thankful for the opportunity to learn alongside and serve the farmers and landowners of Winona County over the last 5 years. It has also been a pleasure to work alongside the staff and board members of Soil and Water County District. I have appreciated the growth and learning experience from my time in this position and want to thank you for your help, guidance, and encouragement. I wish this organization all the best in the future endeavors. I will be submitting a signed letter to Andy on Tuesday, 9/28/21, which is tomorrow. Sincerely, Lance Glessing. He called me on Monday morning to let me know that he was resigning and then sent the letter on Monday. So the Personnel Committee met to discuss his resignation and decided he resigned in good standing, and we make a motion to accept his resignation and to approve his severance pay based on the numbers as of October 14th, which is today. So we need a board member to second that.
Who made the motion?
The
Personnel.
Personnel Committee makes the motion.
Okay, I'll second it.
Okay. Motion's been made and second to accept Lance's resignation and pay the severance pay owed to him. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. And I thought he was going to be here today, but he might be coming yet, I don't know. Next thing is resolutions.
So that's your little packet there with the return envelope, because I failed to remember to get this out to you.
So you need this back by when?
Next Friday. So go home and do it right now and put it in the envelope and send it back to me. So I don't have to call you next week, Leo.
We'll do it this way. Why not?
Stamp.
They won't get their check until you get this.
There you go.
I don't know if that's much leverage.
Maybe that's why he's gotta leave early today, he's all excited to go through this.
I mean, we've all done this before. I think everybody knows how to do it, so.
We're supposed to discuss it, but
We've done this.
yeah, we've
Do it
done
every
it. So
year.
all the information is there for you to review. Just fill it out and get it back to me, and then I'll.
You need them to sign the master sheet before
No,
they
we don't need signatures.
How come other years we just brought it to the next, or we were supposed to
No.
get this last month?
I was supposed to have it to you so you could bring it back to me today.
Yeah, okay.
And I have to have it in by
So
November
it's your
1st.
fault.
So.
Don't judge, Leo.
And no, I only have to sign that, verifying that everybody is who they are and what they submitted. I don't have to have a signature from everybody. So, you just need to mail it back to me.
That's just.
Okay.
And it is, yeah, just the top sheet.
The other stuff is the information.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if you read in the letter, it is, they're still planning on being fully in-person convention December 12th through December 14th.
It's later this year.
So,
December 12th through the 14th?
yep.
Oh, yeah, that's right, we can go up on those Sundays. They
Yeah.
usually have that
It's like
Sunday.
it's a week later this year than normal. Usually
It
around
must
the,
be how the month falls, because our board meeting is the 9th, so the 1st is like early, so it's just how the month falls. So we'll work through those details in November. So make sure your schedules are very clear in November for like a long meeting, because I have a lot to go over.
Where's that at this year?
At the Doubletree in
Same place.
Same place.
Yep. That's a nice place.
Okay, old business, district manager hiring process update.
So, we did the second round, or I don't know how you say it, the second advertising round. We interviewed the candidates, with the first interview, anticipating a second interview. Except he withdrew from the second interview due to the pay scale. He's coming from a very much higher paying field, so he couldn't justify if we would had offered to him accepting it because of the pay scale. So with that, HR from Winona County I asked them to kind of give some bullet points, like what should be our next steps. And they think we should move ahead with advertising it again, with tweaking it, instead of saying just district manager, just say SWCD district manager. They do believe that the classification description is accurate for the duties that the district manager needs to do. The number of applications received between the first posting on June 15th to the second posting on August 3rd did go up. We just haven't quite caught the right person yet, so they think we should keep moving on and post it a third time, if that's okay with everybody. And actually, we all have it ready. It's all ready to go. She's just fine tuning it and getting the time to get it posted for us. So.
That don't take no board action, does it?
No.
No, okay.
And I don't think so.
Just a continuance.
So I was visiting with Leo last night, he brought up, and just clarification for it, because we're having troubles doing this, and he said he's heard about it in other parts of the state where you have one district manager, let's say for 2 counties. Mm-hmm. Is that feasible?
Is it feasible? Yes. Are any of the district managers close by open to that? I don't know.
Yeah, that's the
I think
thing.
we do it a third time, and if we don't get the right person, then we need to look at reorganizing the SWCD with someone where you just have more of like a district administrator, like kind of what I do anyway, and then you would have somebody that has more of the water expertise to do that kind of stuff.
So you'd hire a second technician out in the field then?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you would have to look at like how other districts are doing it to get the job done.
I think the complexity of different districts and how
Right,
involved
yeah.
they are can determine some of those
Right.
joint ventures, because there are some that small counties or don't do a lot, or, this is a pretty complex part of the state, we're all
Yeah.
aware of that, so
I don't think we can.
it becomes difficult to do that, but it's similar to Wanda and I's discussions. I guess my take on this thing, and Wanda's heard me say this several times, is, especially with the onset of the land situation and Darryl kind of all happening at once, is this isn't a fill it with a warm body or anybody. We need the right body in here. And if the SWCD's got to take maybe a 6-month step back, I'm just throwing a time frame out there to kind of get reorganized. And how does that organization look? Is it the same way we had it? Is it different? What is it? The reality of it is we're setting ourselves up again for another 10 years of operating. So in my opinion, what we don't want to do is rush into anything. We want all these ideas brought out.
Yep.
Let that situation fold out to the way it is. And if we got to take a step back and kind of look at what we do for the next 6 months and scale that down a little bit because we have a limited staff, I would rather see that happen than try to keep operating the way we are and push, burn out even more staff. So I guess what it boils down to is a 6-month hiatus of restructuring
I agree.
this entity and be open to different ways to manage it and run it. And it may not look exactly the way it was, or it might go back to the way it was if we find the right candidate. And so I think the big thing is take the pressure off from the staff and allow it to be what it is, find the right people and organize it back however that looks. And we might find out it's more efficient to run it a different way and have multiple mid-level people in there rather than one person being in charge making a lot of the decisions down, because that can also solve some of the idiosyncrasies and mindsets and what one person thinks and how that's scoped out to the rest of the staff. So I'm actually, I guess, a little bit excited about this because it gives us the opportunity to regroup, potentially restructure, and carry this thing out in a different platform than what it's kind of looked like for almost probably since inception. I can't speak for years past, but does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you
Be better,
100%.
Than we were.
Yeah.
And
So I just
right
think-
now, it's the fall of the year, we're not going to be starting any new projects. So we basically have, midway through the winter before we even have to hire.
Yeah, we're a little bit on the coast side right now.
Yeah.
Going into the fall. And we could obviously start looking at projects and plans, but, I think if we're very open and honest with landowners and taxpayers and just saying, hey, we're limited right now to what we can do. We've got limited scope and capacity, and until we get this thing, it may not happen till April. We don't know. But I'd rather do it the right way rather than the rushed way. And so I think we tread water for a little bit until the lifeline comes, and away we go.
So is there another request out there,
For,
manager?
we have it, it's almost ready to go. She just hasn't got it posted, hopefully by the end of the week.
Okay.
And it'll post for another month, and then we'll go through all of that again. So that it's like a 2-3 month process at that, just with that part of it. So, I think we need to go with the recommendations and try it a third time, and maybe the right fit is out there. And if not, then
Yeah.
figure it out.
So we go to Plan B. I think just keep it fluid and open to new ways.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And if anybody comes up with good ideas, bring them to a board meeting and you can discuss them. So.
Andy for manager.
Okay, on to reports. Mr. Jacobs, we'd like to hear from you.
Sure. First of all, yeah, Josh, I totally agree with exactly. Well stated. It might just be timing, the right person. If it takes another 2, 3, 6 months, whatever, you want that right person, and that planets all have to align, and things will happen as they should. But at the county, annually, we always have our time when we meet the citizenry to sign up for committees, and this is that time of year again. It just seems like it's ongoing. So we won't have much open up in planning commission. It looks like the people that are on are able to reapply, and it sounds like they probably will. But Phil Schwantz will be moving off of the termed out on the Board of Adjustment. That would be really critical to make sure we have a qualified applicant for the Board of Adjustment.
Is he choosing to leave, or is that something
He's
you
turned
can
out.
only- You can only go
3 terms, isn't it?
Three 2-year terms.
3 2-year terms.
And then I think after that, you could apply again next year, but you term off.
Right. So there's a lapse time where you can't do it again, so there's gotta be an in-between, or how does it, you can't
Once you-
file?
Yeah, once you termed out, he can't run again.
Ever?
No, I think after a year, I think he can reapply.
That's what I'm saying, yeah, so it's, so if nobody fills the position and it's a 2-year term.
Well, it'll be filled.
It'll be filled.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be filled. This is, all of county's court cases stem from actions taken by the Board of Adjustment with respect to the Daly's farm. So having qualified candidates, at least applying for that, is just, it's critical that we get good people in the pool there. So
How often do they meet?
it's once monthly, and
As
a lot of months, there's not even anything on the docket. So
If you have multiple candidates, who makes the selection on who they select?
yeah, so that's another problem, is it's the majority of the county board. So the county board reviews it, but the problem is if we don't have any qualified candidates, you can bet that politically there's going to be people on both sides of the issues that are going to be applying for that, and we want to make sure that we've at least got good candidates in the pool. Very, very important. Andy's smiling.
Possibly.
He understands it all.
Yeah, I served 4 years on it. Opted not to run the third one because the zoning director and I did not get along at all.
Who
So
is that at that
I'm
time?
sure he would have recommended me not to
Okay.
get accepted again, so I decided not to give him that opportunity to try that. I even went to the county attorney over them, so. When I was on there and with anything else, I feel everybody gets treated the same, and that was not happening. And I just didn't sit quietly by, which is a habit I got.
I got maybe just a couple more
Yeah, go
items
ahead.
too. So jail build is starting. Of course, I've been opposed in voting against that, but now we have to decide how it's gonna be paid for. So the county is reviewing a potential quarter-cent sales tax. And so this becomes an issue of, do we want the county acres property tax to pay for it? That would be the default way that it would normally, that's how it will happen. Unless we pursue this quarter-cent sales tax, which really would put the burden on people that even pass through the county, the people within the county.
Spans it out.
Yeah, so for me, it's frustrating because I'm conservative and vote against tax increases, but you're gonna hear news media reports that are saying, well, Steve Jacobs is pushing for a quarter-cent sales tax. It's the three other commissioners have decided we're gonna spend the 28 million. Now it's, where are we gonna take that 28 million from? So are we gonna take it from the property tax and largely acres, or are we gonna take it from people? So I've been pushing for the quarter-cent sales tax rather than the property tax. One upside to that is the county normally just levies a dollar amount. When you use a percentage of a tax, there's an incentive for the economy to do well. The better the economy does, the quicker the loan is paid off. Whereas when you just levy a dollar amount, it doesn't matter what the economy does, you're gonna pay whether you're doing good or bad. So that's some of the.
So if they do it on real estate, to be fair, they should do it just on a dwelling, shouldn't they? In this,
Yeah,
and
kinda like-
businesses.
Yeah, Steve Dreskowski really pushed for that on the school bond referendums, to make it so that it was a house and 1 acre. For me, there's no correlation between the more acres you own, the more you should pay for a jail. That just doesn't, to me, that doesn't add up. So this is the only other option, but this has to go through the legislature, has to come approval at the state level, and then it has to come back to the voters for a referendum. So this, you would be able to vote on whether you want this quarter-cent sales tax or not. And so it's a long process, and we're just at the beginning stages of that. It
But
could
Think of
be
this, Steve,
2022.
people in Winona that, you got college kids and if you don't only own what's in your suitcase and you're renting, or why would you vote to yes on your sales tax? If you don't pay real estate taxes, you're not gonna,
Yeah,
it won't
so-
affect you.
Yeah, there's no given that this is gonna.
No, so
I would think there would be an incentive for people who live in the city to say, yeah, if we can get property to pay for it, we don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So,
The argument to that is, well, they're living someplace, and wherever they're living, somebody's paying the tax.
yeah,
on
they
what
don't
they're
care.
living.
People don't care about that.
Well, it's passed on to the tenant, so if the property tax
Well,
goes
yeah.
up, it goes to the tenant. That's the argument they make, is that even if you don't permanently reside here,
What I'm
you're
saying
still
is this
living.
passage is not a guaranteed deal.
No,
No, I like the sales tax idea. I think that spans it out over more people and
Yeah,
things like that.
definitely.
It's,
And that generates so much more money than a personal property
well, and it's
tax.
the up and down effect.
so that on $100 spent, it would be a quarter for every $100. That's the amount that we'd be taxing, and it would be for a 25-year period, and it would be constitutionally dedicated through the legislature to this cause, meaning we can't just say, oh, it's working good and extend it at the end, and it has to go away. And if the economy does good, it'll go away faster. So given current, all the current numbers, that we would base it on paying it off in the bonds in 25 years. But very real possibility that it could be paid off in 15 years. So we'd see where that all goes. A couple other things county's working on. We're hiring a county administrator at the time too, and I don't know how that, just for comparison, we use an outside agency. We just hire them, and then they bring the candidates to us, and so I don't know if that parallels anything you're doing or not, but that's how we do it with the county administrator. And then the last thing, of course, is we've got a split on the county board on a mask mandate. So the 3 city county commissioners are, I'd say, pushed strongly by the county attorney to enact a countywide mask mandate, meaning all public places and businesses, if you're like a Fastenal or whatever, everyone would be required to wear a mask. The reason it hasn't progressed faster is because the county board does not have the power to do this, and in order to give themselves the power, they have to create an ordinance that would give the county board the power. And for me, I feel like the ordinance is a worse problem than the mask mandate, because it eliminates all public input and public hearings. So any 3 county board members, whoever it would be at that time from here into the future, can just say, like the governor of New York said, we don't want big soft drinks. So the county board would have the power to anything in the name of health. Fast food, you could say, well, people are overweight. There'd be all kinds of ways that I could see that it would go awry, and the public hearing process would be removed from that. So right now, that's required, and there would need to be a public hearing on this proposed ordinance. But once that's passed, the county board would have powers that I think our founding fathers were very thoughtful in setting this up the way it is to keep public input. And so there's a split on the board, and there's 3 commissioners moving forward. We had a protest before one of the meetings here recently. There's more than 100 people at the protest. They had a podium out front, speaker set up, and they came in and used a 2-minute public comment period. But this will be, it sounds like whether the mask mandate thing dies down and goes away or not, these 3 commissioners and the county attorney want this ordinance so that there's a flu outbreak in the future and they decide everyone should wear a mask, they don't have to come to the public for a public hearing. They can just say, a vote of the county board can do it. So we're struggling with that and working through that process. But
That group is planning another protest,
They are?
another meeting, and this time it'll be over in the park between 5th and Broadway there. I can't remember the name of that park, but
I hope they focus as much on the inappropriateness of this ordinance as they do about, the end product that is sparking the issue is, I think that group is opposed to wearing masks.
yeah.
But they should also be concerned about the county board having this kind of power to enact this.
Yeah.
So,
Is there any version of that that is
So,
available to the public yet, or?
unfortunately, the county attorney is struggling with health issues. So she's the one who's drafting the language for that. And she's just been out of the office for some time. So the foot had been full down on the accelerator on this process. And it seems like now it's not, and that's what they're saying is the reason. But she's got a large office, and I would think she could have other people working on this for her. So I guess I have to just state everything as face value, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's by design.
I feel like tremendous community pressure is slowing the process. And without the community pressure, that's considered to be consent. If you don't, unfortunately, people say, well, there's nothing we can do, it's pointless, but that's really not the way it is. Saying nothing is giving consent. So I think the community's involvement has been pivotal in where things are going. So I don't have anything further unless you have questions for me.
How do you think the public, if you took a public survey of the people in Winona, how would they come back, you think, on like this ordinance? It's hard to say, but you know, you think the public would be in favor of something like that, or
Well, the mask mandate part of it, you know, I've had just countless emails, and it's probably been 98% of them, I think, were opposed to the mask mandate. Now, the ordinance, I don't think people understand that we need to have this ordinance in order to have the mask mandate. I don't think that the community has got all those pieces put together. If it gives the government, the ordinance gives the government more power, there's a split in Winona County on, you know, generally it votes kind of left-leaning, and if this is it ends up giving the government more power, there could be a lot of people who would support that. I don't know. Certainly in my district, I feel good support on the, you know, more conservative side of things, and that seems to be where my constituency lands on those issues, but it's different in downtown Winona, and unfortunately there's 30,000 people there and only 20,000 in the rural areas, so.
So would that ordinance give them power in other areas other than?
It would have to be health related.
Health related.
But that's such a broad
Yeah,
term.
Yeah.
Because that's what's happening is that health is being moved into here, safety, health, for your safety, for your health, rather than allowing that to the private individual.
I asked Marie if, you know, with this power that you had, then you gonna ban smoking? You're gonna ban driving cars? I mean, cars can be a health hazard.
Sure.
You're gonna ban liquor, you know?
Yeah, it's
Where's it end?
fast food.
Yeah,
And if you look at you break down the COVID, which is what they're trying, you know, they're in the name of COVID, that would be the mask mandate. But the majority of the people who have problems have underlying conditions. So any of the underlying conditions, obesity, high blood pressure, all those things, that would almost make more sense to combat COVID than the masks do, because by this point, there should be just empirical proof that we're 20 months into this. If there's an area that's not been using masks, and it should be very clear that, okay, the outbreaks are just out of control in this area, and this place, city mandated masks, and everything's under control, but there's literally no correlation of that nationwide, even worldwide, that areas that have mandated masks are just stopping the spread of this thing, so.
Steve, is there any discussion on vaccination mandates?
No discussion, but that certainly would be, the county board would have that power.
Just from the federal side, all of our employees, whether you work in a county office or a county board member, if they are not vaccinated by the 22nd of November, we're going to start disciplinary actions and will eventually be terminated if you're not vaccinated by that date. Fully vaccinated. So if you chose the vaccine that takes 2 doses, your last day to get vaccinated is like November 8th or something, I believe.
You feel that extends to the county board?
It is, to my county board it does.
To your
So I have a 3-member board that we answer to, and they will be.
And then that's a moving target, because what is fully vaccinated now? They're talking about booster shots. I mean, when it won't be,
There's some gray area for sure.
yeah.
But that came down from, you know, so our rules are all federal, so Secretary Vilsack put that out September 12th, I believe.
Mhm.
So,
one group
Yeah,
of
and this
people that were thinking we might get support from that is a little bit unusual is college kids. I don't know if you guys have watched some of the college football games and the chant that is that has arisen in some of them, and there was that race at Talladega
Yeah,
where
let's go Biden.
Yeah.
Brandon.
Is that what it was?
Let's go, Brandon.
Brandon,
No.
yeah.
Let's go-
And now you
let's
can
go,
buy,
Brandon, that's what
you
it
can
is.
buy hats and T-shirts and sweatshirts and all with that, let's go
I have
Brandon.
no idea what that means.
Yeah. Well, what that was the,
I know, I'm well.
the reporter and stuff. Yeah, she was trying to change the narrative.
So on your emails that are you getting, are they mostly from your constituents or are you getting them from out of your district?
No, well, Winona County,
Okay, the whole Winona County is.
yeah. So
Email.
they're sending them to the county board. So they're sending them to all the county commissioners. There's an
Oh.
email to the county board. So they go online and they're coming from throughout the county. And many of them, I would say majority of them from within the city of Winona. And many of them even doctors. And they're very thorough and they're just completely opposed to a mask mandate. So, and I think it's really only been 2 emails that I've got that support the mask mandate.
So then how in the right mind could your colleagues vote for it? When you have that much opposition?
Well, Greg Olson's statement was, we want to be leaders in this. This is a health issue, it's for your own good. We need to protect the community where we are the county health board. So we
We
know.
would be the only
Yeah,
county.
we know, we'd be the only county in
In
the,
the
not in
5
Minnesota.
state.
The only county in Minnesota, but also in the 5-state area.
In the 5-state area.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So Steve, in the 90% of what's
98.
coming into the county are opposed, 98% coming to the county board,
Are opposed.
how can they possibly take it any farther when the public is?
Yeah, that's what I'm
opposed?
saying. What's the public for
It's
this?
like the electoral college, they don't think that we're smart enough to vote for the president.
Aren't they supposed to vote according to their constituents?
You would
I
think.
I think the pressure's coming from the county attorney, and that's been just out of control. And
Yeah, but the county attorney, these board members don't represent the county attorney, they represent the people that in their district.
yeah, I think it's more complex. I mean, the county attorney backs these 3 county board members on all the court cases, so it kind of becomes almost like a 4th county commissioner sitting at our county board meetings. And, you know, it's bad enough that it's 3-2, but it really becomes 4-2 with representation from the courts.
When is
saying you're gonna do what I say.
This is maybe,
Get on there.
when is the county attorney's term up?
County board?
No, the county
commissioner.
attorney.
Okay.
I'm
yeah,
thinking-
Or she's elected.
Yeah,
I'm in
Is she-
Koweski's
I don't know if
district,
it's-
so,
in 2022 or
and I don't know
I
if she's
think
gonna
it-
run again.
I think it's.
But it seldom, I mean, the
Campaign.
county attorneys seldom get
Gene says,
opposed, because a lot of times it would have to come
Jesus,
from
you're-
within their department.
you're an idiot
to
for
oppose them,
thinking-
and then if you lose and you work under that person, that, that would be
but
awkward, to say the least. But more
It's time
importantly,
people step up.
there's 3 people up on the county board in 2022, so in 12 months from now. And if the county board makeup's changed, all at once, the county attorney doesn't have power. I think that's more likely to happen than the county attorney. But
Even if they
yeah.
passed it, man, even if they got the ordinance to pass, though, a following board could eliminate that ordinance, though.
Yeah,
So
and I
they-
think would, and I think it would be a campaign issue too.
Yep.
I talked to a guy yesterday that he's hoping that they do pass it. He says that'll pretty much end their political career, he feels. But, I don't know.
Okay.
Anything else for Steve or from Steve? Okay, thank you. Anybody get anything from Kay?
No,
present?
nothing from Kay. There's a
Okay,
handout
Sue?
from Sue. Did you put that in the packet?
This year, we got a new employee with Sue.
Yep.
Everybody's got a copy of that?
We'll introduce her next month.
Okay. Supervisors, Baum, Jerry and I went to That, do you want to speak on it, Terry?
Sure. Yeah, that was tremendously interesting. On the way over, Andy was wondering whether it was going to be worth going to, and we both concluded that it was very worth going to. It was about prairie strips. It's probably a term some of us aren't familiar with, but I believe it was 3 acres, 2 to 3 acres that they could be down to in size. And they're designed to go into the big cropping areas to create erosion control, habitat, just environmental benefits of basically an expanded cover crop mix. They're native plantings, and they're doing tremendous monitoring on it in Steele. It's Steele County, isn't it? Isn't that where that
No,
was?
we were in Grand Meadow, that would be what, Fillmore County?
No,
Mower?
Mauer, is it? Or is it Steele?
It was Mauer.
It was.
Mauer
Mauer,
County.
yeah.
Anyway, they have one set up, a demonstration project there with all kinds of monitoring devices, facility, and over a period of years, they're going to be able to determine benefits from the prairie strip. And there was people there that obviously had them, and it was pretty much all on the upside. There wasn't much bad talk about them at all. One of the things that some of the bigger farmers liked was the fact that they could use them for turning around. And that was something that I wasn't real sure about, if that was a good thing or not. But with the bigger equipment, there probably isn't going to be that much tracking, so that'll probably be okay.
Would it be like CRP, you'd be paid for it, or
Pardon me?
would it be like CRP where you'd be paid?
Yes,
to put
it's
it
a
in?
CRP sign-up.
That's what it is.
It's enhanced. It's going to be the top paying CRP project that there will be, and it's up in the $300 range. So it is a little bit competitive anyway, and there's considerable interest in it. I visited, as we were walking from one part of it to another, I visited with a farmer that had one, and he said, and his wasn't too far away from his building site, and he was just overwhelmed of the new species that he was seeing that he hadn't seen for decades. And insects, reptiles, birds, mammals, virtually everything you could think of was showing up in his yard, and he was just thrilled about the whole thing. So for me, it was an exciting day. I hadn't seen anything like that in the past, and I've supported the CRP ever since the beginning, and this is a step that I think is tremendously valuable, both for erosion environment and for the program itself. Andy?
The requirements of the strips are 30 feet minimum distance, up to 120, I believe it was. And wasn't the farm that we were on, they said, was where the runoff is, it goes to the beginning of the river, if I remember right, wasn't that said?
I think it was, yes.
Yep. And then Justin Hansen, who is our chairman for Baum, also works with Olmsted County, isn't it, or Mauer? Mauer. And he had printed a few things on the internet prior to the meeting, and there's just a couple things I want to share with that, from that, which, as a farmer, I think is important, because to me it sounds like we're doing a good job. Over the period of 8 years, they took 600. This monitoring system, it's all automatic, run by solar power, and it measures the water running off the land, and it takes samples every minute or something to get samples of sediment, chemicals, fertilizers, anything. And over the course of 8 years, they took 656 samples. And of that, only 28 samples contained water quality that was over the standard for safety. And during that time, the sample that was, I would say, contaminated over standard, it only lasted 21 hours or less. So as a farmer reading this, I feel that we do use the chemicals, and over 8 years, they only had 28 samples where it was above limit. So I feel that we're doing a good job out there. At least this guy is anyway, where they actually got proof. And I'm sure this is for more than just that specific site that they did. But, because as a farmer, I try to treat the soil the best I can. And I don't want to pollute and things like that. And I think I'm the average farmer is with that opinion. And some of the products that they were monitoring include Acetator, which is Harness, Resicor, Sure Start 2, and Warrant. And then atrazine, which they got listed, the regular names is atrazine 4L, Acron, and Flex. And then Metachlor, which is Acron, Flex, Dual 2, Mag, were the ones that were detected. So, but this kind of testing is so valuable, so we know what's going into these water streams and rivers and ways of preventing it. And this is where, and this was all after, if I remember right, that was a 60-foot strip right there for that location, wasn't it? That, because they can vary from 30 to 120, but I think that one was 60, wasn't it? Or was it more?
It was more.
It was more
I
than
think
that?
it was 120.
Okay. But yeah, and this is what we need, in my opinion, for soil and water, is to get actual tests to verify what's happening out there. This Greg Klinger, who works for the, I think that's his name, Lance would know probably.
Extension, yeah.
Yeah, works for the university. He tests nitrogen all the time, and I visited with him on several occasions, and when he finds that there's times that after a heavy rain that we don't even have any nitrogen coming out of drainage tubes from the ground, tiling, I says that's important, and to me that the soil is holding that nitrogen. So the more information that we can get out to the general public, that farmers in general are doing best management practices, I think is important. And soil and waters with this testing is a way to do that.
Andy, I agree with you 100% wholeheartedly. Unfortunately, the people that I deal with are going to pick that up and they're going to pound. There's over 21 times that there was violations, and they're going to just, these are the different chemicals that we found that came off of this property, and they're just going to tear it apart. You know, I see it like with the people who raise dogs or whatever, they can have like one small code violation in 15 years, or you have your dairy barn inspected, and of course the inspector finds something, and then they'll pick that report up, and all they'll focus on is not all the good things that are done, or all the compliance, or all the positive things. They'll just, they use it the way they want to, and it's unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I totally get that, you know, farmers are the solution, and we got to figure out a way to get that message out.
Yeah, and with these tests, I think it helps us to find out where the problems are and what we can do with these prairie strips and other things to to correct the problems.
Mhm.
And that's what we're after. It's not, I guess no matter what happens, you're gonna have some people that are gonna find a negative in everything.
Yeah.
And we're still,
Think of it as
my point is
it's
we're
the
trying to do
negatives.
the best we can.
It's the negative things that you read in the newspaper and the editorials, and that's what the general public sees, and so it's a tough battle.
Yeah.
Well, it's like you can drive the speed limit every day of your life, and the one time you're in a hurry, you get pulled over, right? You don't focus on the millions of other times you did it right. It's the one time you did it wrong, and
Yeah.
Yep.
and they twist
Yeah.
that stuff because they say, hey, look at how many infractions are here, and then they twist it into maybe we should be monitoring everybody this way, and then and that's what scares me about some of those things, is it sets up the need to do it. Or you could look at it and say, well, look at how very few times it happens. It's all in how it gets into people's hands and what extremist wants to run with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's valuable, though, to just get that information.
Oh, definitely.
And to be able to see the timing of what's happening. And that's one thing they pointed out that day, that those 28 times
Large.
were after heavy rainfall.
I was just gonna say,
Yeah.
that's usually what it
Rainfalls.
is, yeah.
Yeah.
Or shortly after nitrogen application.
Yeah.
So it was pointing out split applications are the way to go, rather than dumping it all.
But what's
at one
crazy
time.
is you go look at the U of M research and they're telling you split application isn't the way to go. Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah, go look it up. So there's so then you poke holes in that, and I did that. I did it with the U of M when they presented at the Whitewater Joint Power Board, and come to find out they did it on really heavy soil, and I said, don't you think that has anything to do with it? And of course there wasn't as variance and difference. I said it's got a much larger holding capacity. The CCs. Well, this is an ant, not a cation. I'm like, we're not gonna. If you want to go down this road of chemistry, I'll go down with it all day long, and you're gonna lose the battle, buddy. But at the end of the day, it's on heavy soil. Well, of course it has a nitrogen holding capacity, and you're not going to see the need to split these out. Go move that to a 10 CEC type soil, sandy, silt loam type soil. It's a whole different scenario. So these testing sites and how they're being looked at and the conflicting information that's out here has got this whole confusion. And that's what's frustrating, because you've got one side trying to show one thing, you've got the other side, in my opinion. Is it validated to do a split application trial on heavy soil? Absolutely. Where's the problem come in? When you rubber stamp the whole industry and say, nope, see, it's not needed. That's where the problem comes into play. You publish that and you don't put a disclaimer in here saying, hey, for this particular type of soil, we may not see the benefit. That's the part that's missing. Yeah. So when you see me get all fired up when people present things, it's because there's missing pieces to this that are misleading people down. Then we go do this stuff, which conflicts this stuff. Okay, to the general farmer public, whoever's doing it, who's right? You got the university doing it, you got a private group doing it, or a government entity doing it. Who's right and who's wrong? Well, I'm just gonna keep doing it the way I've been doing it then.
Well, that's
where
do
it goes.
on-farm trials.
But the problem
You have
with
to
that is
compare
it-
apples to apples for
Yeah.
one thing.
yeah, that's the thing, and that's the problem with these rubber stamps. And so it gets frustrating when you're in that industry and you're trying to help farmers, and in this case, landowners, learn. And it's one of the big frustrating things that we fight all the time, because, granted, we do a lot of ag distribution to other ag retailers, but even just to have a conversation about nitrogen management or this or that, or here's some ways you can. This year is going to be huge. This shift in agriculture this year is here because where commodity prices are and the ability to get them, and may not even be able to get fertilizer this spring. I mean, that's the trend right now. And so what's happening, and this is a good thing, and this is part of what I was going to talk about in my comments, but I'll just get out of the way now, is there's a shift in ag right now. And that shift in ag is, how do I get more out of my NPK? How do I get more out of my winter? How do I get more out of my soils? How do I get more out of my stock residue? How is this going to affect when I can't go buy or don't want to go buy $1,000 MAP and DAP and $1,000 urea right now? And it may or may not even be available. What do I do? You can't find manure in the United States right now. It's not there. If you could, I'd sell every last ton of it. It just doesn't exist because it's all been bought up. Nobody wants to buy the high-priced commodities.
You can't find what?
Manure for sale.
Manure?
Yeah.
For gardens or what?
No, for like turkey manure.
Oh, turkey, oh, yeah.
Yeah, another sort.
Chicken, turkey,
Yeah.
dairy, don't care what it is, you can't find it.
Whatever.
It doesn't exist.
Why, there's such a demand for it.
Well, yeah, you could buy it for 50 cents on the dollar over commodity fertilizer.
But that's such a niche market, it only covers such a small acreage that,
Transportation.
It's bigger than what you think. I'll put it to you that way. We do a lot of it.
yeah, I hauled it, it goes all over.
Well, I mean, in the Midwest.
Yeah.
Michigan to
But
we do a
still-
lot of business in Michigan, Dakotas.
They
I've
closed.
hauled manure from the southeast tip of Wisconsin to the middle of South Dakota, and it penciled out.
Uh,
27 semi-loads.
yeah, but
And
the
it
price of
pencils
fuel
out.
was
No,
going up.
no. You have to understand, it's way bigger than what you realize. You got to get out of our little local economy because there's a lot of spots that don't have it. Iowa, it's big. So needless to say, regardless of all that, the shift in the industry is going to come, and this is a good thing, but it's a bad thing at the same time because of the economics for farmers. But yet, long term, I think it's going to be very good. The biggest thing that we've been doing as a company this fall is managing residues, working with manure, and having discussions about how do I get around buying predominantly two nutrients, nitrogen and phosphorus. That's what our ag retailers are coming back saying, hey, I don't even know if I'm going to have it. You know, we'll get a call from one of the local independent co-ops or something that we work with and say, hey, my UAN contract just got pulled. What am I going to do? I don't have anything. Can't sell anything to my farmers. They want it, but I can't sell it. Potassium sulfate is probably one of the most stable potassium sources out there, much more friendly to the soil. Those contracts got pulled so March 1st.
Is the government pulled it, or is it white?
Manufacturers.
They can't find
CF?
anybody to mine it, or what?
Well, you don't mine UAN, but yeah.
Well, to manufacture it.
Yeah, so the part of that deals with the CF situation from the hurricane in the Gulf. CF's the largest UAN producer in the world. You've got a very aggressively rising oil cost due to all the political issues that are out there right now. Nobody knows where the thing's going to land between manufacturing, shipping, and just the ability to manufacture it, let alone shipping costs, let alone raw ingredients and production side. So there's so many things going on in the industry right now that's driving prices through the roof, literally through the roof. Here is $300 a year and a half ago. It's close to $1,000 right now. So when you look at those things, how, and this is everywhere. This isn't Southeast Minnesota, guys. This is everywhere. And so when you look at how this is going to change the industry, what's coming about, so that's the bad side, because the dumb easy of buying fertilizer and putting it on for the average farmer is going to go away this year. The economics are not going to support it. So there's a couple fears that I have. The first fear is that we go to alternative crops, which is good. Now that said, there's a part of that that's actually good, but there's a part of it, the unforeseen, just like, this isn't a pat on the back, but I predicted $5 and $6 chlorine back in the first part of 2020, and here we have it. And I had a lot of people say, you're nuts, it ain't gonna happen, it's going down. I said, just watch, it's coming. So the next fear that I have, depending on how the farmer responds to this whole scenario, is if they go away from high fertilizer need crops such as corn, which will produce a surplus on one side and obviously a shortage on the other side, which could invert the cost of corn drastically, $10, $12, $15 chlorine, especially if we have a bad year, because nobody wants to buy the fertilizer. And so they say, I'm going to take what I get. I'm going to go to 175 bushel instead of 225 bushel. That extra money that I'd make, I'm going to put towards fertilizer. I don't want to take the risk. What happens if I have a failure? Insurance is only going to pay so much, blah, 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 right? And then they go into a heavy bean rotation. Now, it could bring in some small grain rotations too, but that's a lost art, and it still happens in the areas it happens in. A lot of people don't know how to do it. There's some financial things that could happen if somebody tries to go that rate. It'll flood the market, the grain price will go down. So what does the guy do? So you're gonna still see corn go in. The problem is people don't wanna pay it or they can't get it. So that's, the industry is a snapshot what potentially can happen. And I believe as part of that is going to happen. We're already seeing those trends of people asking. I mean, I just shipped out a whole bunch of hard red winter wheat to somebody in the middle of Wisconsin who absolutely could not find it in the Midwest. Just something as simple as hard red winter wheat. Didn't exist. My direct buyers out of North Dakota, took them 7 days to find me hard red winter wheat. And luckily I was able to scrounge some up for them. So there's already a shortage in some things, and this whole system, what's happening is it's turning up the demand for alternatives. And those alternatives are utilizing what's already there. Because that's all they have. It's like your bank. It's the farmer's bank. So the big thing this fall, finally, even though we've been talking about it for years, and it's what we predominantly do as a company, even though we're in ag distribution, but we still work with retail or farm directs in some locations, is we're saying, hey guys, you've got a big bank of P&K, and here are some things to make your manure more efficient, getting more of that first year nutrient availability out of it, getting more of that phosphorus out of it, getting more of the potassium out, getting the stalks decomposed, working with your pits or spread manure to get that stabilized and more available first year to reduce the amount of nitrogen. Here are some rock star biologicals that produce nitrogen right in the crop without even buying it. They actually do, and they're cheap. These things are like $8, $13. They're very inexpensive to do these things. And we're saying, how far does that money go in the nitrogen market right now? I don't care what it is. They say not very far. I say, right. And so what's coming back is, literally that's what I was sitting in the parking lot doing when I pulled up here, which is why I'm usually fashionably late, having a discussion with an ag retailer an hour east of Fargo, saying, and he's like, we got to get together, we got to get together, we got to get together, we don't know what to do. And so that's what's happening. I just had one, actually three of them with local ag businesses. You guys would all know, right around here. They're saying, help us understand, what do we need to do? Do you have product? Do you have this? And it's taking this market and just blowing it up. So here's the good thing. I don't think it's going to be a good thing for farmers because they're going to have a big learning curve. But I think this year is setting ourselves up for some of the things that we do, which is nitrogen efficiency, phosphorus, residue management, recycling nutrients, all the stuff that we kind of try to lead the landowners into and say, is there an alternative to just buying commodity fertilizer, putting it on, hope like heck we don't get it in the water or in the stream. And that's the neat thing. So that's the excited part that I am, because this is what a lot of what we do throughout the whole Midwest. I don't know why Michigan is growing so fast for us, but it is. I think there's a big push out there for some of these things. But we're starting to see it in localized states too. Iowa is a big leader in it right now. They've tried the whole, let's put another 40 units of N on, and it doesn't work. And they've got heavy black soils. So this is what I wanted to talk about in my little segment. I'm going to get it out of the way, but the bullet points are these. Farming is going to be different this year. There's a huge demand to learn the alternatives. And the nice thing is there's a ton of research and data out here to support these things. It's just, there's a certain groups of individuals that go out and say, foo-foo. Well, they can't even ignore it anymore because they're losing business to it because it's working. And so in this year, they're going to be forced to pay attention because people don't want to buy the high-priced fertilizer or they can't get it. So what else is left? What can we do? What are the efficiency factors? So in one avenue, I'm scared for the farmers. In the other avenue, I'm excited for the farmers and the landowners because it's going to shape minds this year. And we're seeing it. I mean, that's all I've done, myself, my staff, all we've done is focus on manure, residue management, and ways to offset P&K sales through biologicals, through practice, through whatever it is. And it's just like this every day. That's all I do. Conversation after conversation after conversation. I can't even go out and see any of the local farmers we work with because I just don't have time to do it. Neither do they. So it's exciting in one aspect. It's very scary in another aspect. But I'm hoping that out of this, agriculture change. Because this is nationwide. This isn't localized. This is everywhere. So we're shipping stuff to Louisiana, Pennsylvania. I mean, it's just crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So, okay. That's what I got.
Bill, you're next, but include a report on our Area 7 fall meeting.
Area 7 fall meeting.
And then
Well-
throw in your WinMac.
Winlac, okay.
I gotta get
Right
going
away
here in
too.
about 10 minutes.
Yeah,
So.
okay. Well, we had our Area 7 meeting over by Welsh, Minnesota, and it was held on a small farm where they raise yak. So that was pretty interesting, learning about yak and stuff like that. The rest of the meeting was, I didn't take any notes, but it's pretty typical for a Area 7 meeting. After the meal and after the tour and stuff, supervisors got together and held our meeting and stuff, and and then at Winlac last Monday, we wasn't too much on the agenda. We did approve a mission statement for Winlac. And again, I don't have them here, but I can tell you that I like them. They were, short and sweet and to the point, of what we are trying to accomplish.
Thou shalt do what we say.
Pardon me?
Thou shalt do what we say.
Yeah, well, somewhat. And then we approves paying some bills, and I am not very prepared, so
That's it.
we did have a presentation that was, were you on? No, you weren't on. So.
Good.
So that's it.
Okay. Leo, you got any comments?
No, I just was gonna mention that it was, the state must have a lot of money, because how they piddled it away on Highway 74, spending $4.7 million on 4 culverts. I thought that was a little excessive. They paid somebody to mark each rock as they took it out. They washed the rock and put the rock back in the ground. There must have been some sacredcy about those rocks. But I thought it was a real waste of taxpayer money, but what do I know?
You're just too logical.
I think you're right on that one, though.
Jerry, I had you speak about Ball. Is there anything else, comments you have?
On Ball.
No, on anything else.
No, except for the River 1-1 that
Yeah.
is coming up there, but
Yeah.
no, not in general on anything else.
Okay. You want to do your river then?
Sure. Another interesting meeting. The high point of it was the fact that the Crooked Creek project was within days of being completed. We could say it was completed then. And I believe there was like a 72 picture presentation on it by River. Close to $700,000 for the project, and we concluded that it would never have been able to be accomplished without the 1-1 plans. And it would have just gotten worse and worse. I don't know what would have ever happened with that area. I suppose it would have gotten to the point where it just turned into something different and stayed that way, but it wouldn't have been pretty. But also at the meeting, I hope I don't embarrass Wanda here, but she hit a home run at the meeting. She was very well received, replacing Daryl, and with the fiscal reporting. She made a couple changes from what Daryl did, and it was much more understandable, and she was thanked and praised. And there is one fella there that ever since the Root River project started, he's been negative on everything. And he was the one that praised Wanda the most. So that just points out how well she's doing. Otherwise, the general consensus is with the Root River 1-1, it's smoothing out and going the way we were hoping these 1-1s would. So that's all I have to say.
Okay. Well, my comments are going to be on Lance. We did accept your resignation and everything. As board chairman, I'd like to wish you the best in your new adventures. And thank you for your years. I don't even personally know how many years you've been here.
A little over 5, I think.
Yeah, it would have been 6, it was just 5 in August, I think.
Yeah, because you were here when I got on, so, and I'm in my 5th year, so. So anyway, thank you and good luck, and we'll open the floor to you if you have any comments that you want to say.
Yeah, I just thankful for the opportunity to work with, not just the board and the staff, but also the farmers, and that was definitely a highlight. So I'm appreciative for the opportunity to serve and learn alongside them, and it's been good.
Okay.
I would have liked, I didn't think of Lance when I was talking
Well, I
about the
snuck in
1-1,
that,
but I'm really disappointed that you're leaving, Lance. In some of our conversations, I pointed out how much of the good things that are happening around here are a result, at least partially, but mostly because of what you have been doing. So, in my opinion, you did a good service for Winona County, and I'm disappointed that you're going elsewhere.
Sure. Well, thanks for being honest. I'm not going anywhere, for the record. But,
All right.
like I'm not. Except I don't have another job in line or anything like that. So.
Well, I'm pretty sure you're going to find one that's going to be good.
Yeah.
Okay, Wanda.
The only thing is, come prepared for a long meeting in November.
Okay. And don't forget to fill out your
Yeah, ballots.
ballots.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. You guys can read your committee and appointment meetings. Next meeting's November 11th.
Well, no,
Oh,
that's
wait.
Veterans Day.
Veterans Day, okay.
Want to make a motion to move it to Wednesday, or
Because the office is closed on.
technically we're
11th.
closed on Thursday, Veterans Day?
Yeah. So is there a motion to move it to Wednesday the 10th?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay. Motion been made second to move the board meeting to the 10th because of Veterans Day. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Any other business? Hearing none, I may entertain on a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion been made and second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.